Over 10 million people are about to walk away from their homes. Hey everybody, Scott Walters, buckle up, strap in. I got a hard-hitting pull, no punches, no sugarcoating it, no rainbows, no sunshine. I'm just going to give it to you and give it to you straight. We got a good one to unpackage today. Buckle up, strap in, hold on to your hats and your glasses as we blow the lid off the U.S. economy and the U.S. housing market. Why, you ask? Well, of course I'm going to tell you, because if we lose one, we lose the other. They walk hand in hand together. Booms and busts. We've always had them. And every single time the U.S. housing market exhibits bubble behavior, they've crashed. Not 1% of the time, not 2% of the time, 100% of the time. So anybody not willing to put at least this much crash risk on a real estate bubble wants to sell you a house. Financial gain. Drink the Kool-Aid. Take your pick. Never wanted an agent in worse shape than their clients. And we are seeing agents drop like flies. We're about to separate the men from the boys, my friends. Man, this stuff is insane. This stuff is insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result is the definition of what? Insanity. Insanity. So anybody that thinks this time is different was clearly, sadly mistaken. We would be lucky, my friends, if we could get out of this one with a simple subprime mortgage crisis. We've got the U.S. dollar is being threatened right now. Countries are starting to resist doing business with the dollar because it's becoming so fragile, weak. The stress test it's being put through. The political strain. Throw the dart at an economic challenge map. We're hitting something politically, socially, and economically. Everything was thrown into a tailspin courtesy of the money dump. The doubling of money in circulation, all interest rates sensitive environment. And we've talked about this. We could have got away with a lot of things in this stimulus era, but when we made real estate agents essential workers in a lockdown order where there's limited inventory and then dropped rates, leadership had to have known this was going to take place. I knew it. So why didn't they? Of course they didn't. Or of course they did. They knew what was going to go on. So what happened? What was the byproduct then, Scott? Tell us what the byproduct, what should we be looking at right now? If we're going to be forward thinking and critical thinking, reading between the lines and looking between the cracks, Scott, if the dust is going to settle, if there's going to be any blowback, if we're going to pay the piper for the money dump, Scott, what should we be looking at right now? Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking at right now, what's on my mind. I think about the poor people that went and bought in the brand new construction developments that are now being forced to market competing with the builder who's now slashing prices, doing incentives and rate buy downs and free upgrades. Woo! Grasping at straws. And see, they had the ultimate rug pull because you see, they were drunk on stimulus, those low interest rates in the FOMO environment. They would build a model home, a FOMO factory tour home, make you fall in love with it, and then wait in line for yours to be delivered. And then when it got delivered, it's falling apart because the quality construction was compromised during the crisis. Bottlenecking of materials, cheap materials, rush to build, couldn't get qualified workers over there. It was just insane. Insane. So now they're stuck with all this inventory. And the people that, this is the sad part, when the first phase, the people that moved into these developments, they bought at the very tippy top of the bubble. Now they're watching their homes sell for less. Well, what are the banks sitting back in their conference rooms talking about this is a great thing for us? No. They're talking about how they've got a bunch of loans out there for people that bought at the top, 10 million people. And their houses are no longer worth what they paid. Those are the realities. Those are the waters we're swimming in now, let me repeat. Over 10 million people, every single person that bought in the height of the real estate bubble, their house is no longer worth what they paid. And even if they're at a break even after closing costs and everything else, the banks, you're upside down. You are upside down, and if you're not, you're basically weeks, if not months away from joining that group of people. So the banks are now getting a little nervous because we're already seeing bank failures. We see how they drank the Kool-Aid. We see how interest rate sensitive the financial markets are, and mortgages. Mortgages are ultra interest rate sensitive, of course. So when we see mortgage rates rise, that means purchase power diminishes. That's why we're now doing what? Chasing the market. When you see these properties stuck on market, the builders included, they're not pricing them properly to get an actual sale completed. They're chasing it on a razor's edge, and they're shooting at a moving target that's clearly moving down. So anybody that's competing with the builders coming onto the market at the top of its value range instead of the lower end of its value range is already done. You're going to sit on the market, and then I'm going to come along with my client and see you're clearly not motivated, or you've been mishandled by your representation, and I'm going to show you the reality of what your house is worth with our offer. And because I tell my buyers, don't fall in love with anything I show you today, because we might have to walk away from it. Our offer may not stick. If that's the way you want to play ball out there. Do you want to play ball? Do you want to buy outside the bubble? We're outside the bubble. Now we're going to test these properties to see if we can make them pencil out with an offer. If the neighborhoods know it's just so far apart, we're waiting for that neighborhood to get to the levels. But we're seeing now properties pencil out. I've shown you plenty of properties where your cost to own is less than what it would rent for. That means it pencils out. So the realities are this, friends. In the last real estate bubble, people started walking away from homes. And it was the people that bought in the bubble. So we just had another real estate bubble. Over 10 million people bought in the bubble, and they're upside down in their purchases. And if not, they will be very soon. So if we're forward thinking, critical thinking, and if history's told us anything, we know that eventually we're going to see people walk away from homes. Now, what's happening currently is banks are going to start selling off loans. They're going to package them up and sell them off to other banks as big banks absorb small banks, you name it, whatever is happening out there. Eventually, your loan is going to get sold back into the secondary market. And they're lumping in bad loans with good loans to get banks to buy loans. That's what's going to happen next. This is what happened in the last real estate bubble. In the bubble started to deflate, loans started to get repackaged up and resold out there. Owners are getting notice right now as we speak. Notice of servicer change. You no longer pay this bank, you're now paying this bank. Your loan's been sold. It's a very vulnerable place. And especially when you know you're like, shoot, this is probably not a good sign, because I'm running on fumes, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I've exhausted my cash reserves, and my house is no longer worth what I paid for it. Honey, but we put so much pressure to buy the house. I don't want to lose the house. Of course you don't. Because you put that much pressure. And that's the only difference between this bubble and the last bubble. When I always say this bubble is worse, that's the only difference. In the last bubble, we didn't see lockdowns with limited inventory in a low interest rate environment that made FOMO occur and people get into bidding wars. We didn't see that in the last bubble. We saw a real estate bubble form, but we didn't see bidding wars. We didn't see people standing in line around the block to overpay for a house. We didn't see that. All under the trap of a low interest rate, where now people want to tell you, oh, because of these low interest rates, people won't sell. They're going to hang on to their mortgage because they don't want to have to sell and lose their low interest rate. It doesn't matter if they have 0% interest. I've reported on this. If you can't make your payment, it doesn't matter. Now, eventually what's going to happen, the leadership will step in and do what they can, like they did in the last bubble, and offer something. So there'll be a lot of social unrest. We need homeowners. We can't have a foreclosure crisis. We're going to step in and do a loan modification, the Biden-backed loan mod. We had the Obama-backed loan mod in 2008. Did the real estate market crash anyway? It did. It can't save it. You can't put a Band-Aid on a shotgun blast. What goes up must come down. Every time the real estate industry shows bubble behavior, they've crashed 100% of the time. So anybody that thinks there's no crash risk here clearly is in denial, has financial gain, drank the Kool-Aid, or ultimately just wants to sell you a house. In final thoughts, I come to you as a friend, as a content creator. Somebody wants to see you not only win in real estate, win in life. Understanding the biggest artificially created housing bubble ever produced in world history has reversed course. We've confirmed we're now outside the bubble. We're in the correction phase. If we can't stop it here, we'll enter into the recession phase, which will follow. And if we can't stop it there, we enter into a depressionary level of an economic downturn, which have cycled throughout history approximately every 100 years. And the last depression cycle was 1929. So if we hit year 100 by 2029, a mere 5-6 years from now, we will probably be in a recession. I believe by next year, we're announcing, if not, well, probably but this year, summer, we'll be announcing official recession, because the job numbers that they were hanging on to will finally meet the levels needed to admit official recession. So when we saw this one, it was just the perfect catalyst, the perfect storm to deliver that again. Anybody that didn't think so just hadn't lived through the last one, or has short-term memory loss, or got drunk on stimulus, and now they're in big trouble. Now, it'll be our job to help as many people. You won't regret the past or wish to close the door on it if you learn a lesson in this one and not do the same thing over the next time expecting a different result. Because that's the definition of insanity. My job is to keep us, hopefully, sane enough to operate efficiently within this so we're not a deer in the headlights like the masses are about to be. 10 million people bought in the height of this bubble, my friends. 10 million people are at risk of walking away from homes. They will drop one at a time, not all together at once, one at a time, as slowly jobs get lost, savings accounts get depleted, equity goes upside down, loans get sold off into the secondary market. Take your pick. Throw a dart at a map. It's just the realities. I take no pleasure in reporting this is the mess that was created for us. But I take a lot of pleasure in reporting on these are the things that are happening and trying to get people awake so they understand that these things will play out. It's never been if, it's always when. And these things are now knocking at the door pretty loud. The cat's clearly out of the bag, and we've talked about this before. As soon as mainstream media, who's not forward-thinking, critical thinking, just report on what's handed down from a newsroom, an office above, that starts to move these markets. And we're not seeing anything close to a red-hot housing market or this or that. It's getting harder and harder to cheerlead this one. Now, leadership's probably dictating a lot of the movement of mainstream media, what they're giving us. That's why this channel is so very, very important because we read between the lines and look between the cracks, blow the lid off it whenever necessary, because it's not only what we need, it's in fact what we deserve. If you appreciate the content, I want to humbly ask you to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Social media links in the description of this video if you'd like to contact me there, along with links to channels I've appeared on I think you might enjoy. If you need help buying or selling real estate here in America, I have the biggest network of top-rated agents in the nation ready to assist you. It'd be our honor and our privilege to do so. Email in the description for you as well. Also, if you're watching from your television set today and you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to love the next video, and there's an easy subscribe icon for your convenience. As always, thank you for your time. Please go make a count today. I'll see you on the next video.